You know, when you think about the Alaska Purchase back in 1867, there's probably one famous nickname that just pops into your head, right? It's become this shorthand for what people thought was one of the biggest blunders in American history.
Yep, I'm talking about Seward's Folly. At the time, critics didn't stop there. They also called it a polar bear garden, basically a giant, useless chunk of ice bought by a way too eager Secretary of State, William Seward. The popular opinion was that it was a massive, expensive mistake.
But here's the thing. Was it really a case of bad judgment? Or was there something much, much bigger going on behind the scenes that all those critics just completely missed? Well, let's dig in and find out.
Okay, to really get what was happening, we have to pull the camera way back, way out from Washington, D.C., and look at the whole world stage. Because this story, it's not really about ice at all. It's about a super high-stakes game of global chess. So you had the main players, right? Russia and the U.S. But they weren't just looking at each other. Nope, they were both laser-focused on a third massive player, the British Empire. We're talking about the undisputed global superpower of the time. And that rivalry, that is the real key to understanding this whole deal, especially with the U.S. still resentful over Britain almost backing the Confederacy in the Civil War. And this whole thing didn't just happen overnight. The seeds for this were planted years before. Back in the 1850s, Russia and Britain had just fought the super bloody Crimean War, so they pretty much couldn't stand each other. At the exact same time, the British population in Canada was exploding, pushing right up against Alaska's huge, basically undefended border. For Russia, the writing was on the wall.
So, put yourself in Russia's shoes. You've got this gigantic piece of land, Alaska. Thousands of miles from your capital in Moscow, it's practically impossible to defend. And right next door is your biggest rival, the British Empire, with its massive navy. It felt like a ticking clock. They were pretty sure it was only a matter of time before Britain just took it. So Tsar Alexander II comes up with a pretty clever idea. Hey, why let them take it for free when we could sell it to one of Britain's other rivals?
And just like that, the stage was set. You've got Russia looking for a buyer, and the United States just coming out of its own devastating civil war, ready to look outward again. It was the perfect moment for one of the most opportunistic deals in history.
And when you look at it, the deal was a total win-win. For Russia, Alaska was just a headache. It cost a ton of money to maintain and was a strategic nightmare. Selling it meant getting some cash for a place they were probably going to lose anyway. And for America, it was a golden opportunity for huge territorial expansion, a brand new strategic position up in the north, and frankly, a pretty useful distraction from all the painful stuff happening with Reconstruction.
So they hammered it out. They pulled an all-nighter negotiating, finally wrapping up at 4 in the morning, and they landed on a final price, $7.2 million.
Okay, but here's the crazy part. When you do the math, that comes out to just 2 cents an acre. Just let that sink in for a second. 2 cents! It was an unbelievable, once-in-a-lifetime bargain. And so, with those official words spoken by Captain Alexei Peshkurov during the handover ceremony, it was a done deal. The American flag went up over the capital, Sitka, and just like that, a vast new frontier became part of the United States.
But even with the brilliant strategy and that rock-bottom price, the American public just wasn't buying it. That whole Seward's Folly story really stuck. But that perception was all about to change, and fast.
Yeah, it really didn't take long for people to start realizing what they'd actually gotten their hands on. This place was absolutely loaded with resources. The waters were just packed with fish, the forests were dense with valuable timber and furs, and deep underground, well, there was an incredible amount of mineral wealth just waiting.
But the real game changer, the one event that shut the critics up for good, that was the Klondike Gold Rush in 1896. All of a sudden, Seward's Folly wasn't some frozen wasteland anymore. Oh no, it was the front door to unimaginable riches. Thousands and thousands of people poured in, and the true value of Alaska was finally, and forever, locked into the American imagination.
So, what's the final verdict? What's the lasting legacy of this incredible deal? How do we see it now, looking back with over 150 years of hindsight?
Well, today, the verdict is pretty unanimous. The Alaska Purchase is seen as an absolute masterstroke of diplomacy and strategic foresight. It made the country bigger, it provided just untold economic resources, and it really cemented the United States as a major power in the Pacific. The so-called folly turned out to be an incredible fortune.
And that kind of leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on, doesn't it? It took decades for most people to finally see the genius behind buying Alaska. It really makes you wonder, what deals are being made today? The ones we're all calling bad deals or mistakes. How many of those will people look back on in 150 years and call them brilliant?